Heinrich Ludwig William Gabriel Dickinson was a German writer of fantastic fiction, writing under the pseudonym of Bodo Wildberg. Born in 1862 in the Ukrainian city of Lviv, the son of Austrian military official Heinrich August Dickinson and of Baroness Maria Theresa von Escher, his family being of British descent. Heinrich's father died in 1866 at the Battle of Königgrätz, and several years later Heinrich and his mother moved to Dresden, where Heinrich would attend the Witthomsche Gymnasium. Thereafter he would study at the Theresianum Academy in Vienna, before moving on to study law and philosophy in Prague. Wildberg was a friend and collaborator with poet Rainer Maria Rilke, but otherwise not much is known of his personal life. He began publishing poetry in 1882, with his first collection of fantastic fiction, Tödliche Triebe, published in 1894. He died in Berlin in 1942. Most of his collections of fantastic fiction, bearing such names as Snakeskin and Other Strange Novelas, or Deathly Urges, came out between 1910 and 1920, and remain unreprinted, his work remaining very obscure even in Germany. I had been looking for any of his collections to read and review for several years, before finally managing to find one easily available. As for the English-speaking world, it appears that only a single story, the titular tale from his Snakeskin collection, was ever translated into English, published in the July 1936 issue of Weird Tales as The Snakeskin Cigar Case. Der sechste Panther und andere Novellen, or The Sixth Panther and Other Novellas, was published in 1912. The Sixth Panther concerns a panther tamer who seems to labour under the delusion that he has a sixth white panther as part of his act, though no one else can see it. After the man is injured during one of his performances, he confides in his doctor that he once made his way into the interior of Borneo, where he discovered a pygmy tribe, and became the husband of their beautiful red-eyed queen, who, upon learning of his plans to escape, cursed him to be followed forever by her white panther, which slowly drove him to insanity and later to death. The Lady from Amytal is the story of a wanderer who meets a woman while touring the countryside, and after a short mutual relationship gets a strand of her hair to remember her by, but after her death she appears to him on a train and asks for him to give it back, and he does, and she disappears. Overall, it's one of the few stories where Wildberg changes from brutal and grisly to almost Edwardian in his tameness. The Host of the Black Dragon is the story of the host and landlord of an inn in the country, consisting of a sprawling, amorphous network of red-roofed houses and buildings, in the heart of which is a secret chamber where the landlord keeps hiding the precious things he stole from his guests while sleepwalking in order to create a perfect time capsule. The Monastery of the Great Angel is one of Wildberg's bloody tales, somewhat spoiled by the ending. A German official goes on a boat ride in the Balkans during his holiday, where he meets a man named Rizvan Begovic while exploring the local caves. Rizvan Begovic invites him to the Monastery of the Great Angel, originally built by a group of Satanists, and now used as a secret retreat for a group of locals who enjoy very extreme and illegal games of chance and sport. Rizvan Begovic uses this fact against a young Serbian who is also part of the company, whom he accuses of having pestered his wife in a most unbecoming way. The game which he introduces to the company is called The Bear, where one man is given a gun and has to go and shoot his selected unarmed target to death, unless said unarmed target can somehow manage to beat the bear to death. And of course, Rizvan Begovic picks the young Serbian. The only annoying thing, as indicated before, is that it ends up supposedly all having been a dream. The water castle concerns an explorer who decides to go and bathe in the ruined former royal baths of the local sultan, and almost gets eaten by a giant ravenous turtle living in the depths of the pool. The Two Green Diamonds, another of Wildberg's extremely bloody tales, is the story of a traveller who goes to a remote Indian monastery in order to steal the diamonds that serve as the eyes of a wooden idol, right as the temple and village is ravaged and massacred by a group of nomadic warriors. But then, once he manages to sell the one he did get away with to a millionaire, he is sent back to get the other and meets a very nasty end. The comet bird concerns a giant comet that almost crashes into the earth, and whose rays manage to exert a strange influence on a butterfly cocoon that accidentally fell into the cage of a hot air balloon that went up to observe the comet. The radiation ends up creating a most unusual butterfly. However, what begins as a story reminiscent of Papilio Mariposa ends up as a rather odd damp squib, where the whole story is about the preserved corpse of the butterfly being stolen by the son of its owner and sold off to a stranger, only it seems the man actually used suggestion to force the young man to do so, and once we find out, the story basically ends. The Auroch and the Giant Elk is the story of a man visiting a distant relation at their estate and dreaming about being menaced by a giant deer before being menaced in the real world by a live Auroch in a somewhat confusing ending. An Adventure in Bohemia, meanwhile, concerns a young man invited by a beautiful noblewoman to her castle, and how her jealous mayordomo threw him down a shaft into a secret tunnel, hoping for him never to be found again. The Sapphire Shooter is the story of a painter and big game hunter who retrieves the mystical sapphire of an Indian queen, whose curse, however, makes him fire the sapphire from his rifle into the skull of a wild elephant, and then spend years vainly searching for the beast in order to retrieve it, before being led back to the same spot where he started from, with a final bitter punchline, bringing his long, painful journey to a close. The Snow White Poodle has the narrator discover that a Haitian man keeps sending loose his white poodle, a powerful instrument of voodoo, to temporarily bring good luck to people he knows, only to force them back into misery and failure for his own amusement. The Wrong Address has a man and wife staying at a forest inn, warned by a ghost of their impending murder, only for the warning to have been meant for another man, who came a day late. Mariken Arends is a bit of a weak close to the book, a weak Edwardian tale of a man having met and fallen in love with a woman whose long-abandoned grave he finds the following day. Aside from the occasional stumbling block, this is a very good collection, and it is a crying shame Wildberg is totally unknown both at home and abroad.